So today we are unpacking a really, really compelling piece of insight from Greystride.
Yeah, it's a great piece.
It really is. And it focuses heavily on the actual mechanics of transport reliability, which, if you're listening to this, you know is basically the holy grail.
Right, absolutely.
We're looking at source material that dives deep into the daily, gritty operational realities faced by you, the South African fleet owners and operators.
The ones actually out there on the ground.
Exactly. And our mission for this deep dive is to basically figure out why the logistics sector is, well, constantly measuring failure instead of, actively engineering success.
It's a huge shift in perspective for sure.
I have this analogy I like to use. We often treat transport reliability like an umbrella. You really only realize the mechanism is fundamentally broken when you're already standing in a torrential downpour, just getting completely soaked.
That is, yeah, that's painfully accurate, which means you're standing in the storm, fumbling with the broken metal spokes, completely reacting to a hostile
It's
environment.
just scrambling.
Right, instead of being protected from it in the first place.
Mhm.
The whole premise of the Greystride research we're looking at is that true reliability, it's not about how fast you can scramble when things inevitably go wrong on the road.
Because they will go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. It's about intentionally designing a system from the ground up that actually absorbs the shock of the inevitable.
Right, okay. So to understand how to actually build that kind of, I guess, shock-absorbing network,
Yeah.
we first have to look at why the current standard definition of reliability in the industry is just fundamentally flawed.
Yeah, we have to tear it down first.
Exactly. The Greystride text points out this paradox that, um, honestly, it seems so obvious once you hear it, but it completely dictates how fleets operate right now.
And what's up?
That reliability is almost exclusively measured after something has already failed.
Yes, it is entirely a post-mortem metric.
Postmortem, exactly.
If you look at standard industry scorecards, they track things like late deliveries, missed collections, vehicle breakdowns in transit.
Communication blackouts.
Right, communication blackouts, or just a massive surge in customer complaints. And operators use these data points to, build their KPI dashboards.
To gauge how reliable their fleet or their partners have been, yeah.
But every single one of those metrics is past tense.
You're literally measuring the damage of an event that has already occurred.
Yeah.
Like a KPI dashboard flashing red because a side tipper missed its slot at a Richards Bay terminal.
Right.
That doesn't help you fix the delay. It just tells you that you failed.
Yeah, by the time dispatch is tallying up a missed collection or, an ops manager is fielding an angry call from a client, the supply chain is already suffering.
The cascading consequences.
The disruption has already rippled out. The warehouse staff is standing idle. The manufacturing line might be facing a shortage. And, well, the next load in the sequence is now delayed too.
So tracking these lagging indicators isn't measuring reliability at all.
No, it's just keeping a very, very detailed ledger of your operational failures.
Wow. Which, that brings me to the underlying behavior that causes this whole mess, which the source material does address.
The vending machine concept.
Yes, the vending machine mindset. We have this tendency to treat transport like a giant vending machine. It's a highly, highly transactional, load-by-load mindset.
Right, you just put the money in.
Exactly. A dispatcher thinks they can just insert a coin, basically the standard rate, and expect a perfectly maintained truck to just drop out exactly when a load of FMCG goods needs to move.
Yeah, but treating logistics like a vending machine seems to be the actual root cause of these systemic failures we're talking about.
How so? Like mechanically, why does that fail?
Well, treating transport as a purely transactional event where you only start searching for a truck the absolute second a load drops onto the floor,
Yeah.
it creates a massive vulnerability in your workflow. The mechanism of failure here is actually quite simple. You are forcing your planning process to start from absolute zero every single time freight needs to move.
Oh, I see. It's like waiting until you're actively dying of thirst in the desert before you even start looking for a shovel to dig a well.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. And in a complex, fast-moving supply chain, you simply cannot build a foundation on reactive problem solving.
It's just too volatile.
Exactly. When operations waits for the load to drop before they even figure out where the capacity is coming from, they introduce a massive window of uncertainty.
So the dispatcher hits the spot market.
Right. They're making 20 phone calls, sending out frantic WhatsApp messages to various brokers.
We have all been there.
Because the clock is ticking, right? So the normal vetting process, it just gets completely bypassed.
Ah, so the truck they eventually find might not be properly maintained.
Or the driver doesn't understand the specific handling requirements of that particular freight, and that rush directly triggers the exact chain of postmortem failures we just talked about.
Which ruins the KPIs anyway.
Exactly. The Greystride piece emphasizes that a truly reliable transport ecosystem is not built around successfully finding a truck at the 11th hour.
All right.
It's built around creating a network architecture that performs consistently under daily pressure.
Okay, so if reacting load by load is a broken strategy, I think the natural assumption for most fleet operators listening to this is that the solution is just, well, mass.
Like, just get a bigger fleet.
Yeah, you just need a massive fleet.
Yeah.
If you have 500 trucks instead of 50, you don't need to scramble, right? Sheer size should mathematically equal reliability.
You'd think so, but
But the text explicitly debunks this.
it does, very clearly. We have this hardwired cognitive bias to equate massive scale with security.
Right, bigger is safer.
But scale without underlying structure is really just a much larger, significantly more expensive scramble when things inevitably go wrong.
A bigger mess, basically.
Exactly. The research argues that the most resilient networks are the most structurally integrated, regardless of their sheer vehicle count.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Because the word structure, it sounds beautiful on a boardroom presentation deck. It sounds fantastic in an annual report.
Yeah.
But out on the N3 highway, or navigating a congested depot in City Deep, things change by the minute.
They do.
So if my entire operation relies on a highly structured, tightly integrated schedule, doesn't a sudden disruption shatter my entire system way faster than an operator who just, wings it on the spot market and dynamically reroutes a single truck?
I see where you're coming from, but that is the exact trap of confusing structure with rigidity.
Okay, unpack that for me.
In the context of this research, structure does not mean an inflexible, brittle schedule that completely collapses the moment a border post delays a truck by 4 hours.
So not a rigid timetable.
No, structure is the architecture of your response. The text outlines this very clearly. It means utilizing operators who deeply understand the specific volumetric and handling requirements of the freight they're moving.
Right, so they actually know the product.
Exactly. It means having established data-integrated relationships with the businesses they serve.
Like shared systems.
Yeah, shared forecasting and proactive planning protocols. Okay. So we aren't talking about a rigid rulebook dictating that truck A absolutely must be at point B at exactly 12 p.m. or the whole system fails.
Not at all.
We are talking about the underlying infrastructure that allows you to manage the delay when truck A inevitably gets a flat tire at 11:30 a.m.
That's spot on. Operating with structure means taking a long-term strategic view rather than suffering from, tunnel vision focused only on the immediate next load.
Just reacting to what's right in front of you.
Right. When a dispatcher already has established relationships and there are clear pre-existing communication channels.
Like those API integrations between your fleet management software and your partner's warehouse systems.
Exactly. When those are in place, you just don't panic when a delay happens. The structure provides a resilient framework.
Because you aren't wasting time figuring out who to call.
Yes, the contingency protocols are already in place. The network absorbs the pressure because the trust and the operational tolerances, they're already mapped out. Okay, let's apply this directly to the unforgiving environment you, our listeners, are dealing with every single day.
The real world.
Yes, the real world. The Greystride piece specifically contextualizes this within the South African transport environment.
Which is uniquely challenging.
Very. It lists out the disruptions that are essentially baked into the daily reality of moving freight here. You've got sudden road closures due to protests or accidents.
Order delays at Lebombo.
Right. Severe shifting weather conditions down the escarpment, mechanical failures, changing collection times at the ports.
And these are not worst-case scenarios.
No, these are Tuesday morning.
Exactly. They are the absolute baseline reality of operating a fleet in this region.
So how does structure help with that?
Well, the core thesis introduces a vital perspective shift. The differentiator for a successful logistics business isn't whether you can magically avoid these challenges.
Because you can't. Every single fleet owner on the road faces the exact same N3 closures and port congestions.
Exactly. The competitive differentiator is the mechanical speed and the operational effectiveness with which your specific network responds to that shared reality.
Which is where the text introduces what I found to be probably the most critical mental shift of the entire deep dive.
Oh, the capacity versus access thing.
Yes. It advocates for moving away from viewing transport merely as capacity and starting to view it as access.
This is a huge concept.
Let me expand on an analogy here to see if we can really nail down the mechanics of this for everyone.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think of moving freight, like trying to get your team into a highly exclusive, super overcrowded VIP club.
Okay, walk us through the mechanics of that. How does that map to logistics?
So capacity is simply knowing that there are physically enough chairs inside the building.
Right.
You've looked at the market data, and you know the trucks exist somewhere in the country.
That doesn't mean you can use them.
Exactly. But access is having a long-term relationship with the bouncer.
Ah, I see.
And you don't get that relationship by just showing up one night and offering him a bribe. You get that relationship because you are a regular who makes his job easier.
You book the table in advance, you communicate.
You bring good clients. Exactly.
Yeah.
So when there is a literal riot at the front entrance,
Which would be a massive capacity crunch in the market.
right, the bouncer just waves you through the side door.
That perfectly illustrates the functional difference between the two paradigms.
It clicked for me right away.
Because knowing that there are, say, 10,000 available trucks operating in the South African market, which is the theoretical capacity, that provides zero operational value to your business if you cannot secure a specific vehicle right when your high-value load is sitting on a loading dock.
And the delivery window is rapidly closing.
Exactly.
The chairs are technically inside the club, but your freight is stuck out on the sidewalk in the rain.
It's useless. The source material defines this access in very tangible operational terms.
What does it actually look like?
It is guaranteed access to the correct type of operators. It's access to dependable, vetted equipment. And most importantly, it's access to trusted, integrated relationships that have been intentionally developed over multiple fiscal quarters.
Not just overnight.
No, it takes time. Shifting your operational model from capacity to access is profound because it fundamentally alters how you procure transport.
It's a whole new way of doing business.
It transforms logistics from a pure commodity where you're just, buying empty space on a trailer from the lowest bidder into a strategic, interconnected ecosystem.
Okay, so when a massive disruption hits, say a key route is completely blocked, or a client suddenly moves a collection time forward by like 6 hours.
Which happens all the time.
Right. The network that's built on access doesn't resort to the frantic spot market scramble.
No, they activate those established relationships.
And because they have been providing steady baseload volume and accurate forecasting to those partners for months, their freight gets prioritized.
Exactly. Those relationships act as literal operational shock absorbers.
That makes a lot of sense.
That is the actual mechanical function of the structure we discussed earlier, because your business is not just a stranger inserting a random coin into a vending machine anymore.
You're a known entity.
Right, within a partnered network. The communication channels are already open. The transport operator already understands the specific tie-down requirements of your freight, and the logistical problem gets solved collaboratively.
While the transactional operator is still on hold with a broker.
Exactly. The structured network dynamically adapts.
But this access paradigm, it doesn't just save an operator during a crisis, does it? The text implies it actually alters the baseline performance of the business.
It fundamentally changes it.
So once a fleet owner listening to this actually transitions their operations from hunting for capacity to building access, what are the actual tangible impacts on their day-to-day profit and loss and their workflows?
The most immediate and transformative outcome detailed in the text is predictability.
Predictability.
Yes. When a business positions itself within a structured network, where long-term relationships, transparent communication, and shared operational alignment create a consistent environment, the entire planning cycle becomes mathematically easier to execute.
Wow, and predictability changes everything.
It really does.
Because if your dispatchers can actually predict asset availability, well, then your sales team can actually plan and confidently commit to new client SLAs.
Precisely. Meeting stringent customer delivery windows ceases to be this daily gamble.
Right. Throwing the dice every morning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the unavoidable operational disruptions, the blown differentials in Mpumalanga or the sudden port strikes.
Tuesday morning stuff?
Tuesday morning stuff,
Yeah.
They become significantly less damaging to your bottom line because your structured network absorbs the initial impact and reroutes the flow without requiring executive intervention every single time.
It just handles it.
Yes. And this stability leads to the most critical business benefit mentioned in the research.
Which is?
Organizational growth becomes sustainable.
Because the management team is no longer spending their entire week just fighting fires.
That's exactly it. Scaling a logistics business requires immense management bandwidth. The text points out that growth is only possible when the core transport function is no longer operating in a perpetual state of uncertainty.
That makes total sense.
If a fleet's operations team is spending 80% of their daily hours reacting to postmortem failures, chasing down missed collections, and frantically dialing for emergency spot capacity,
They literally do not have the cognitive bandwidth.
or the time. They don't have time to focus on strategic growth, acquiring new contracts, or optimizing their existing routes.
Operational stability just frees up the human resources required to actually scale the company.
Precisely.
Wait, this brings up a fascinating secondary effect I noticed. The Greystride text talks about the others.
Oh, yes, the others.
The businesses that are still, shaking the vending machine, continuously searching for reactive load-by-load solutions.
The spot market hunters.
Right. If these reactive guys are constantly scrambling at the last minute and paying ridiculous emergency spot rates just to get a truck to a depot during a capacity crunch.
Where is that premium going?
Exactly. Are the chaotic, reactive businesses effectively subsidizing the structured fleets?
That is the silent reality of the logistics market, and the research heavily implies this exact conclusion.
Wow.
Over time, intentionally building and maintaining a structured network creates a massive financial and competitive moat.
Because the reactive businesses are out there absorbing all the friction of the market.
They really are. They are paying premium emergency rates for last-minute capacity, they're suffering the financial penalties of late deliveries, and they are constantly damaging their own client relationships.
While the structured fleets just watch from the sidelines.
Basically, the structured businesses are insulated from those wild market swings, benefiting from guaranteed access and dependable operational outcomes.
It is like they're playing two entirely different sports on the exact same field.
That's a great way to put it.
One team is just trying to survive the next 10 minutes, and the other is running a multi-year strategy.
The transport industry is absolutely flooded with companies that are just moving metal from point A to point B.
Right.
But a vanishingly small percentage are intentionally designing reliable transport ecosystems around their core operations.
And those are the ones who win.
Without a doubt. Those operators who prioritize long-term stability, deep relational access, and operational alignment over the simple, cheap availability of a truck, they achieve a dominance in the market that is very, very difficult to unseat.
Because they understand that real resilience is engineered.
Mm.
It is never just purchased on the spot market.
Exactly.
Well, let's pull all of these threads together because we have covered a massive amount of operational strategy today for anyone running a fleet.
We really have.
We started by identifying the trap of the postmortem metric, the danger of managing a business by only measuring failures like late deliveries or breakdowns after the damage is already done.
Looking in the rearview mirror.
Exactly. We looked at the fatal flaw of the vending machine mindset, where starting your planning from zero for every single load creates systemic vulnerability.
Starting from scratch every time.
Right. And we completely dismantled the myth that having a massive fleet automatically equals reliability, discovering that the strongest networks are actually defined by their structural architecture.
Yeah, and we also translated what that structure actually looks like in the gritty reality of South African logistics.
Out on the roads.
It's not about having a brittle, rigid schedule that breaks at the first sign of a road closure. It's about the agility that comes from shared forecasting, deep knowledge of freight requirements, integrated communication systems, and established contingency protocols.
We explored the critical evolution from merely hunting for market capacity to engineering genuine access.
The VIP club.
Right, being the VIP regular who gets waved through the side door because you've built a mutually beneficial relationship, rather than just hoping there's an empty chair inside when you arrive.
Which ultimately serves to transition a logistics business out of a chaotic state of perpetual reaction.
Right, stabilizing the core operation.
Making accurate planning, ironclad customer commitments, and actual sustainable business growth mathematically possible.
It is a complete reframing of what it takes to survive and thrive as a transport provider in this market. But before we wrap up our analysis today, I do want to pivot to the broader implications.
Okay.
Looking at all this Greystride research, what is the underlying challenge that stands out to you the most?
Well, the entire source material places a massive, undeniable emphasis on trusted, long-term human relationships as the absolute foundation of a reliable network.
Right. It's all about the people.
It is. It's ultimately about operational alignment and trust between dispatchers, managers, and clients. But that creates a highly complex structural problem for any growing fleet owner.
What do you mean?
Well, If the true foundational strength of your resilient transport network relies on specific human relationships, established interpersonal trust, and clear communication rather than just the physical metal of the trucks,
Yes.
what happens when the key operations manager or the veteran dispatcher who holds all those relationships actually leaves the company?
Oh, wow.
Right? How do you institutionalize that trust so the architecture of the network itself survives, rather than just relying on the specific individuals currently sitting at the desks?
That is a brilliant and honestly slightly terrifying operational question to leave on.
It's the next big hurdle.
How do you make the structural trust bigger than the people executing it? Well, we will leave you to mull that one over in your own operations.
Good luck with that one.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of reliable transport. Take a hard, critical look at your own workflows today through this exact lens. Are your dispatchers just reacting load by load, shaking the vending machine? Or are you intentionally engineering access?
Keep the mechanics of that in mind.
Definitely. Keep in mind the next time the operational rain starts pouring. Until next time.